Don't just watch TV tonight. Play it.
That was my attempt to do a booming commercial advertiser type voice. A nice authoritative tone. But anyway, let's get on with the games here. We're gonna have more fun than that lady who got her face ripped off by that chimp. Why is that my metric for having fun? Wanna zoom in on a picture of a controller? Well, you came to the right place. The Atari came with paddles. When the teacher said you were gonna get the paddle, well, maybe that's what they meant. They were never gonna harm you physically, they were just gonna hand you a game controller. Yeah, they did something special with the box for combat. I think it was foldable somehow. If only I could read whatever that text at the bottom said. I'm like Oscar from Hey Arnold, I never learned how to read. Did you ever see that episode where they found out that Oscar was illiterate and they tried to teach him how to read and they eventually got frustrated and gave up and they just dumped him out in the middle of the city and told him, okay, you gotta get home, all on your lonesome. Alright, let's get started with the game here. This one was meant to be two-player. The idea of an AI-controlled tank was just far too advanced for something as archaic as the Atari VCS. So I guess I can't really play this one properly, unless I were to get two controllers, like Sakurai does, where he has the two controllers in one hand. So this has 27 different modes in it. Very advanced, I must say. This next mode, this one has obstacles in the way. Try not to wet yourself. We are slowly gonna get over there, and we are gonna blast him back to hell. That'll teach him to be on the blue team. Slowly but surely. Bam! Yeah, there we go. Okay, in this one, the bullets, they ricochet off of the walls. They call it Tank Pong in the menu. That's a good way to subvert this. Wow, what the hell happened there? I believe that's probably the first game glitch ever invented. So this is it. This is combat for the Atari. You may be surprised to know that there's still a dedicated fandom behind this game. After all these years, there's an internet community out there that likes to record their matches and post them online. You can find the videos at reddit.com/r/combat footage. Yeah, but be warned, their version of the game looks a little bit different than this one. Do not actually do that. For the sake of your own mental health, don't take any of my ludicrous suggestions seriously. Feel like in my younger days when I would tell my younger brother to do ridiculous and awful things, and he was only like 10 years old, so he didn't know any better, and he'd actually do them. Or he'd be about to do them, and I'd have to pull him back, so I'd say like, hey, why don't you send a text to so-and-so and tell him he sucks? And no, don't actually do that. So here they've got some artwork for Surround. It's like Snake, but two-player. You can play it with your wife in the hopes of salvaging your relationship so that nasty, filthy, disgusting, rotten old bitch doesn't take off with the kids and just leave you as a pimple on society's ass with nothing in life. Yeah, all of that will happen if you play Surround. It certainly took a while to come up with good controller designs, didn't it? There were some missteps along the way. And Activision was there during the Atari era. Yeah, they've got some quotes from some disgruntled employees that weren't getting paid enough. How very on brand for Atari. Yeah, not many people know that Activision was made up of former Atari employees. Alright, I've been blueballing you guys with these Atari Jaguar games. Let's actually play one of them now. We gotta go with the most well-known one. The one that terrorized AVGN all of those years ago. With that talking green head that would constantly say, "Where did you learn to fly? Where did you learn to fly?" Good stuff. So I did a playtest of this before recording this, and to my surprise, this is nowhere near as broken as AVGN made it look. I was under the impression that I was just constantly going to be crashing into stuff, but that's not quite the case. I think the mistake that AVGN made is that he didn't notice that there's a speed control. You see that bar farthest to the left? Yeah, you can control the speed with that, so as long as you're reasonable, you shouldn't go crashing around into stuff. You shouldn't go crashing into trees like Tiger Woods did that one time. So these sort of low draw distance arena-based spaceship games were something of a commonality back in the day. Not on mainstream consoles like the N64 or the PS1, but more so on cool people's game systems. For example, the Saturn had Gen War and Bulk Slash, two games very similar to this. There's definitely a limited appeal to something as clunky and hard to look at as this. Certainly an acquired taste. One could say it's too intimidating for the normies. You know, it seems as though Atari finalized the chipset for the Jaguar maybe just 1 year too soon. Perhaps if they had waited, maybe they could have released something that was closer to the PS1 in terms of 3D capabilities. I mean, if you wanted to have mainstream appeal, it wasn't enough to just do 3D, you had to do 3D well. There are primitive games out there on the Amiga, primitive 3D games, I meant to say, on the Amiga that nobody remembers, and 3D on its own wasn't enough to sell software. You gotta appeal to them normies. You know, gaming as a whole didn't really go mainstream at all until about the PS1 era, and that's a long time for an industry to exist and not really have mainstream attention. Took a few minutes to convince the average bugaboo. So by the way, there's something of an interesting factoid behind this game's development. You know how Atari was always making wacky decisions? Well, this game wasn't spared from that either. You see, this game launched with the system, like normal, and they had their first print of cartridges. And then management at Atari decided, hey, you know, we could save some money if we could somehow print this game on a 1 megabyte cartridge, even though that would require making changes to the game on a program level. And so what they did is they made a new version of the game where like half the content was missing, and they just shipped that as the same game as this. Like there were no differences in the packaging or the label on the cartridge, and they just tried to pass it off as the same game, even though there was a bunch of content removed. All for the sake of saving a little money. I'm pretty sure that this is the full version, though. I mean, I'm not a cybermorph expert, but the green lady seems to be talking a bit more, so obviously audio takes up data. So I'm thinking this is the version of this game in this collection is based on the first print cartridges. Before we go, I want to crash into the mountains at least once, so we can hear the ladies say, "Where did you learn to fly?" Surprisingly, we haven't heard that even once. I mean, that's like the trademark thing. The ship's a bit more durable than it was in the AVGN video. It's not just getting toasted right away. Come on. Come on, say it. Hello?
Avoid the ground.
Okay, well that wasn't quite it, but close enough. I'm never gonna be the new AVGN at this rate. Where are my quotable moments?
Where did you learn to fly?
I gotta get out of my head.
Where did you learn?
I gotta get out of my head.
Where did you learn?
Stop!
Where did you learn to?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Where did you learn to?
Where you learn to be an asshole!